is the Rangers Journal now.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night's Rangers Journal, or is it Match Day -1? Is that what we call it when we're playing a game tomorrow? Match Day -1. That's the terminology now. And tonight's show is everything Rangers, although given that we're playing Malmo tomorrow night in less than 24 hours, probably a lot of focus will be on that. We will pick up on a few other bits and pieces, but we'll give a match preview in tonight's session. So just say hello to our panel. Some will know each other, some not been on the pod together. Ricky, how you doing? How's your day been?
It's been all right, mate. The weather down here in England's pretty bad at the moment, so I've been sort of socked or sodding all day at work because I work outside, but I'm nice and dry now. Unfortunately, the tumble dryer or the washing machine's going around the cycle on it, guys, so apologies for the noise, but that's it, just stopping. But thanks for having me on and looking forward to tonight's session. Good.
Ryan, what about yourself? Nice to hear you.
Mate. Aye, good, mate. Aye, pleasure to be on again, guys.
Good. So, and yourself, good day. Ryan, good day. And exciting.
I'm sorry, mate. Aye, no, just what, mate. Just grafting away, usual. But I've been buzzing all day going.
And yourself, Doug. Doug, tell us about the hat. I really need to know about the hat.
Sometimes I wear hats, as people do. Couldn't be bothered to wash the hair, so hat was on. I was feeling that it's starting to get a bit colder, so I had the hat on this afternoon. Just haven't taken it off.
So there's no big reveals as the night goes on, and you take it off and the hair's gone.
Shaved head.
That's what I'll wait for. So you can fish. So the topic tonight, there's lots of topics. We're going to get an agenda. Paul's asking what the topic is. So we'll do a bit of a match preview. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about the game at the weekend there. So a little bit of a refresh, a recap on Sunday's game against Dundee. A little bit who's impressed you. So I'll talk a little bit about Dessers and his 2 goals and how he started the season. And a kind of European expectation, a bit of an overview about tomorrow's game, a bit of an overview about the Europa League format, how it's working, and some just general thoughts around some topics you may find of interest. So nothing particularly specific. I think probably the first thing we'll start with maybe is a very brief recap on your thoughts on the game on Sunday against Dundee, which some would say was a routine win. Ricky, what was your thoughts? Did you see the game?
No, unfortunately, I was away at the weekend, buddy. I just caught up with basically the goals. So a win's a win. Back at Ibrox, yes, it was to be expected, but I think it was reasonably comfortable. So I'm led to believe. And we move on from there, mate. I don't believe we picked up any injuries, which I think was key to get into this particular week. Although, as I've heard today, Cortez has picked up an injury in training, which is going to keep him out for several weeks. There's another issue we've got, so that's Ridvan and down that left-hand side, 2 key players missing. It just seems to be going on and on and on at Rangers, isn't it? We just get rotten luck when it comes to injuries. It's ridiculous, but I think we needed that victory in the weekend there. Sets us up for the semi-final, and what a draw! Yeah, gives us a really good chance to progress to the final. So yeah, we got the win, and we moved to the semi-finals. I'm looking forward to it.
No, definitely. Ryan, what about yourself? Did you see the game? Any thoughts on
it? Caught glimpses there. I was busy, to be honest, mate, so I was catching me bits of it, but I was happy for Dessers. I like a big man. Knock a couple of goals at Ibrox again. It's a routine win, and that's what you expect it to be. Dundee or no, it's not an easy feat either. Dundee, Tornado, who's got them playing remarkably well last season. And I don't know how well we've started this season, but they're a good side. So I'm looking forward to the Malmo game. I think we're more capable of getting a result in Europe as we always seem to do. But I've definitely fancied them more, even to pick up a point at least.
No, definitely. Just I see the comment from Paul there. So where I sit in the Broomloan stand was directly above that penalty that he's talking about, and I've never seen. Don't know if you've seen the highlights or seen it, but literally the arms were around him for about a minute and a half as he's running around as the corner's been taken. How the referee didn't give a penalty in that first half, and I certainly think it probably influenced the one in the second half, which arguably wasn't as strong as the one. So, but no, I'd be interested to see what the audio says, but there was meant to be issues with VAR allegedly during the game, so whether that's they might come out and say that it wasn't working properly. Doug, on the game, you obviously done an hour, and anybody's not watched it yet. If you want to go back, Doug done an hour's match reaction all by himself, which deserves great kudos in its own right, and it's very comprehensive. But one of the things that struck me was the amount of chances that Dundee had, and this isn't a negative. I suppose it just takes back to think, it's all this on another day. Although it was a routine win, we won 3-0. Dundee did still have a number of chances, and Butler made a number of saves. I don't know, just your reflection of the game in that particular point, it's probably not been mentioned much because we won 3-0.
Yeah, it's one of those, like you say, wins paper over cracks, and that's kind of one of them. I think the game was a lot like the Ross County game in a lot of ways, in that we played well, we showed a lot of hints at our style and our tactics, and we got some benefits and goals from them. We should have actually had a couple more goals, but where Ross County got like maybe 1, 2, half chances, decent chances, Dundee got 3 or 4. By virtue of they're a better team. So I think there were some slight warnings there that we do need to just keep working, make sure we're not lapsing. Right near in the last 5 minutes or so, Tavernier just totally switches off, and an awful pass that gives them an opportunity. But we saw some of the old frailties as well in terms of they had a couple of decent crosses in they got between the centre backs, or the centre backs kind of lost the flight of the ball, and on another day with better headers, Dundee probably do get a goal or two. So still some things to work on, but overall, I thought it was a comfortable game on the whole. I think even if Dundee had got a goal or two, I still feel confident we'd have won the game. So from that perspective, I still think it was good. But yeah, just a wee reminder there that there are still things to work on for us.
I don't know if you've seen the XG and all that sort of stuff and all the stats. I know you look a lot at that, Doug, but I mean, I'm presuming I may be totally offline, but the chances that Dundee had were actually probably better chances than Celtic had, and they if you look at the actual potential of it, I don't know if there was any stats that you looked at or something, and I'm not suggesting for a minute that they're comparable. I think it was interesting how clear cut some of those were.
Yeah, some of them were. Let's say the one that they got from Tavernier, they probably should have scored. At least one of the headers was basically point blank. If he just aims it properly, he scores. Butland does have a couple of good saves as well, whereas he let himself down, I think. Certainly at least one of the Celtic goals. The Kyogo goal was just an atrocious goal to lose from a number of points. So I think Dundee kind of worked their chances better, whereas I feel like some of the Celtic goals we practically gave to them. I mean, their third goal was a deflection as well, which on another day Butland maybe saves that shot. So that's not trying to detract it. Celtic were the better team in the day; they deserve to win. But I think like you say, Dundee did carve out their chances quite well, and that's something that we need to just keep a lid on, particularly going into obviously European competition where the caliber of opposition is much higher.
Yeah, and I think, Ricky, I don't know. I mean, I suppose that kind of takes us back to a question that's happened a lot this season about how easy we are to carve open and the amount of chances teams get against us. And certainly as we move into tomorrow's game, it becomes more of a concern. Generally, European teams will take their chances.
Yeah, we have to bear in mind that this is a new team, and we've got players who potentially are past their best. So that blend doesn't bode well at the moment because we're still trying to settle down to our best 11, and we've never seen our best 11 yet through lack of fitness or through whatever it may be. We have not seen our best 11 yet, and we've certainly not seen any consistency or continuity with any of our teams that's been selected since pre-season, and that's a bit of a worry for me. I kind of alluded last week when I was on the last pod that I've got optimism going forward. We have got good.
I think maybe losing Ricky there. His Wi-Fi maybe slightly sketchy. Ryan, I'll come to you. Well, Ricky's gone for the moment. You talked a lot about Dessers then, so and I was going to ask who impressed you from the game, but I suppose more generally. Sorry, Ricky.
I don't know whether I think you've just dropped out there, guys. Sorry, the weather's quite bad down here. So it's just getting that little bit of consistency, which will come in time, and we need the manager just to get a team that can gel, blend, And when one goes off, one can come on like for like. So we're getting that consistency and fluency in their play, so we can see a style of play and take it from there. That's easier said than done, but I'm sure that's what we're striving to try and do. I'm sure it is.
And certainly the bench was stronger than it had been maybe in a number of weeks. Ryan, I'm going to come to you there while Ricky was froze for a moment. So just looking at who impressed, and you certainly mentioned Dessers there. So maybe more generally, not just about that game. I think, if I remember rightly, he's on 7 goals and 2 assists, is it, Doug? Not if I'm right, in 9 games, is that right? 9 starts, sorry. Which I think is pretty impressive going for him. So I don't know. 7 goals and 3 assists in 9 starts. So I suppose you said you quite like him. How do you think he's been performing over the course of this last couple of months, particularly?
The Dessers, yeah.
Yeah, Dessers.
I think he's been brilliant for us. There's a lot of hate towards him. I think it's because he misses some silly chances. And for me, Morelos missed hundreds of chances, and we loved Morelos. Do you know what I mean? I think it's maybe, I don't know what it is with this. I think it's maybe he's too nice. Do you know, he started to get a little bit of a nasty streak now. I've noticed as well. He's kind of getting a wee bit huffy, and I want to see it for a centre forward. I want to see a centre forward huffy, getting right in amongst it. Do you know what I mean? But I think he's had a cracking start to the season. I think he's brilliant for Rangers. His movement and that, I think, is brilliant as well. I think I like it, Boyega Manny as well. So it'll be a good bit of competition for Dessers there as well. Maybe up his game a wee bit more.
No, definitely. Doug, I'm going to come to you. You were telling me it was 3 assists and 7 goals. So I'm going to come to you. Do you know, one of the things that interests me is that there must be a reason why the ball hits off him so many times, right? And I mean that nicely. But the amount of goals that he's scored of deflections, or the amount of goals that we've not scored by hitting off him because he's in front of the goal. And I suppose that is about his movement and the things he probably doesn't get the credit for, you know, to the same extent. And if you're looking for a goal, and if you're looking for a goal in Europe, his European record's pretty good for us, is that right?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, Dessers is a good striker. I don't have any time for people that try and paint him as being rubbish. He's a good striker. He's just got deficiencies, which is why he's had the career he's had, and he's been at the teams he's been at, and why he's playing in Scotland and not England, or a top 5 leagues. You know, so he does have his deficiencies, but he is still a good striker. You know, 20 plus goals last season, and he looks like he's going to happily march his way towards that, if not more, this year already. As obviously, like you say, 7 out of 9 is an absolutely fantastic return. So, you know, there is a player in there. I think the two kind of issues are, one, the amount of money we paid for him. That plants a certain expectation in fans' minds. He was bought for a high price to be a number 1 striker. It's similar with Danilo as well. There's a lot of pressure on him to repay the value that we paid for him. So there's that I think goes against him. Whereas obviously, Ryan made the comparison to Morelos, which I think is an interesting one, because he was also someone that scored a lot of goals but failed to do it against Celtic. So, but I think the key differences in terms of the 2 things, Morelos didn't have the price tag, so he came in with low expectations and was able to build up. And then there's the other thing where I think Morelos fit the system better. And that's, I think, where Dessers falls down a bit for us, is that in terms of our overall system, the things that he lacks are things that we kind of need our striker to have, which is things like the hold-up play, and sometimes the distribution isn't as good as we maybe need it, whereas Morelos was very good at that kind of thing. So he kind of was a bit more of the whole package in terms of what we need from a player in the position. But, you know, I mean, Dessers, you know, Morelos, if memory serves, he either only once or never got as many goals last season as Dessers did. As I say, Dessers looks like he's a way to get similar again, which, you know, in terms of goal scoring, I think there'll be a point where we could potentially be looking back and going, Dessers was a better striker than Morelos, because Morelos could be a bit clumsy at times, whereas Dessers almost has the opposite problem, because he tries to overdo it with, you know, the cutbacks are becoming a bit of a meme at this point, and so maybe using a bit of the more simplistic Morelos, just smash it in, would do him good. But he's got plenty to offer, and I'm 100% with Ryan in that the best thing for him is to have competition for any player. If you want to have a team with players playing at their absolute best and getting that extra 1 or 2% out of them, you need them to know that if they make mistakes, they'll be straight out, and that's what we can have if we can get, obviously, a man who's looked decent pushing on him, and then ideally getting Danilo back as well, so that you've got 3 people all pushing for one place.
Yeah. I suppose that probably takes us on to Ricky Agamani to some extent. You know, it's one of the things that he has is a different profile. Ricky may have broke it. Are you still there, Ricky? Can you hear me okay? Ricky?
Yeah, I mean, I've been probably one of Dessa's biggest critics. There's definitely a player in there, but he certainly has his issues when it comes to being a number one striker, taking 3 and 4 touches in the box when he's not going to get that time and he needs to get his shot away. If he could improve that area of his game, he'd be double or twice the striker what he is. I mean, he has got a lot of good attributes. That being, he's probably his least one where he just needs to find that clinical touch. And it's not even a clinical touch. He's got that. He just needs to get his shot away a bit quicker, sort his feet out a bit quicker in tight spaces. That's easier said than done, being in mind he's 29 years of age. Doug's absolutely right. He came in with a big value, a big cost to us, so everybody expect him to hit the ground running. And to a certain extent, you know, so we'll back up Ryan. He has hit the ground running because he's delivering with the goals, but there's something just not quite there that we just need that little bit more, and he could be a top striker. But let's face it, Hateley and McCoy's never hit the ground running with Rangers. They were duds, and the pair ended up legends at our club. So there's definitely a time for Dessers, and he's had a great start to the season. But Agami, for me, is a different kettle of fish, different type of player. He's more of a Morelos player. He's strong, he's quick. He can boss the whole back four for what I can make out. He's tricky, he's pacey, and for me, he's a better striker than Dessers will be. Doug was absolutely right. Dessers is thriving off the competition, and long may that last, because the way Dessers is scoring the goals, he's going to keep that shut, and he's going to keep it ahead of Agami until Agami gets in and makes the shut his, and that's got to be good for their club. So the trajectory of the pair of them, for me, is looking good.
Yeah. So Ross from the pod is in Turkey now. So when he comes back next week, checking if his teeth look the same or anything's different. But he's put a question in the chat, and just very quick fire. Don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but very quick fire. Who out of the current team is the best? I suppose what I'll say the best resale value. So just who do you think in the current team, current squad, is the one that could make us the most money? And then I'll come to you, Ryan, first.
It's hard to say, really, isn't it? There's no, and that's just that sad thing, innit? You're thinking to yourself, who's got the best sell on? I still don't know. I think you could probably get more for other than Jack. I think Jack Butland's the one that kind of sticks out. But I still think you could get a few million for Danilo, even though he's not kicked the ball for us. Really, I still think he's got a good enough pedigree. You could move him on for a few million still. So it's definitely Butland's a stick out. It'd be Butland, I think. And between Tavernier and Danilo probably after that. But I don't think you ever go for a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Ricky, yourself, who'd get the biggest resale value? And I'm going to get you to try and say his name again while you're doing it. So.
Yeah, just Ross is giving me a hard time there. So definitely Agami. He would be certainly up there. We potentially to make us money. Young Baron. And Jefty, without a shadow of a doubt, as Ross has already alluded to. But I would add to that. I think if we can get Cortez going, I think we'll certainly recoup. We'll be laying out to him at the end of the season. Danilo, but certainly if we can get him going, we'll see how he progresses. And then when you look at the guys who potentially is there, who if we can get them through this season, Rice, maybe. Lovelace, and you know these youngsters who have got so much potential, there is certainly room for them to be moved on for big profit to us. But we need to get those said players into the squad and operating so we can put them in the window. Another one where we're in this catch-22, Hadji. If we could get him playing, I think there's money to be made in that lad. But he's sitting languishes in the B team to whatever reason unknown, only known to the Rangers board, but it's criminal that guy's sitting there. We could get him in the shop window and making money in January. But get our money back.
Hadji's a tough one. I think most of us would like to see him in the squad, but most of us probably understand it's not likely happening for whatever reason, isn't it?
Well, he's a good age, Gary. You know, he's not over the hill. He's 26 now. He's coming into his peak years. He's got 2 great feet. Another 2 goals for the B team yesterday. But it's continually doing that at the B team level. Fitness levels, he's going to be fine because he was at the Euros. I know we're covering old ground, but if we're trying to make some money in players, there's an option there to make some money. Whether there's any truth in the rumour that we're going to play Club Bruges £1 million as the knock on because of his 100 games, who knows? It's all rumoured, isn't it? I'm not sure.
No. Doug, I'm going to come at you now, right? So we'll move away now. So tomorrow night we play Malmo, and probably just I'll maybe get you to give a recap for the audience and a little bit of understanding for the panel how it works, Europa League now, if you're happy to do that.
Yeah, yep. So obviously we've qualified into the what's called the league phase, and I should say as well, this setup counts for all 3 tournaments now. They're all set up identically. Because you no longer, one of the things that's changed is you can no longer slide from one down into the next. So once you're out, you are out. So we are in, as I say, what's called the league phase. So the league phase is made up of 36 teams, I think it is, 36, 38 teams in one giant league. So we're all together in one league. So I think that's one of the main things that a lot of people I think are confused about, because we're not playing, unlike your normal league setup, you're not going to play every team in the league. Obviously, if we had to play 35 teams, we'd be playing Europe forever. So instead of playing everyone, you just play a small section of teams. You play 2 from each of the seeded sections. Obviously, there's the 4 seeded sections. We were first seeds in this competition due to our coefficient. And so you play 2 from every section, and that makes up your league section. So at the end of your games, obviously the same normal rules apply: 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, none for a loss. So obviously by the end of your matches, you'll appear somewhere within the 36 in terms of the league. So the qualification rules are that the top top 8 qualify immediately into the round of 16. So if you think about how the old system worked, you'd have your Champions League teams that dropped straight into the 16. So in this one, it's the top 8 teams. Your next section of teams, which will be the next 12, will qualify for the knockout round. So they will play another set of games, a 2-legged tie, to then get into that last 16 with the top 8 from the league. So the first 6 of those 12 will be the seeded teams, which means basically they'll get to play their home leg second, their home game second, sorry, and the second group will be the unseeded group. Then the last set of teams, they will just go out of the tournament. So ideally, obviously you want to be in the top 8. Most realistically for us, we're going to aim to be in that middle section of the league. There are people who've done like multiple thousands upon thousands of simulations of how the thing can go, and based on that, it would seem that the points to aim for is 9. So basically, we want to try and get 9 points out of the, or obviously more, out of the games that we're going to play. And if we can do that, there's a reasonably good chance that we would qualify for that round of 16. And then once you get past that knockout round and into the round of 16, it's then just sort of a standard tournament knockout from that point forward.
Yeah. So, and as you say, the supercomputer, to use old Ant and Deck phrase, was that the teams 1 to 8, they think it's going to be about 15 points will get you in the top 8, isn't it? I think it's a kind of rough estimate, and then 9 or 10.
12 to 15, yeah.
Yeah, so I think ideally you want to try and reach 15 to not have to the playoff round, but if you do get 9 points, you should still be in a shout of a 2-legged playoff, is it? And there's no drop down. I think the other bit to my point, there's no drop down in another competition, is that right? So if you don't,
that's correct. Once you're out, you're out.
Yeah. So Ryan, obviously this is a whole new format for us all. The Champions League one started last week, if I remember rightly. What's your thoughts on it, or of the format and how it might work, and some of the pros and cons?
My biggest pro is I would now like to see Rangers playing in a conference. Do you know that? So I think if 3rd place in the Europa League, you drop in a conference. Is that right? Am I right in saying that? No.
And it used to be, there's no drop down.
It used to be. So I would want Rangers playing in the conference. There's now either Europa League or Champions League or nothing. So I like it. It sounds good. Do you know what I mean? So you're only to proof of being a prudent. I'd start to understand it a bit more. I'm still a bit technical. Doug's relayed it quite well there, so it's giving me a bit of information on it because I was still kind of unsure how it all worked and stuff. But I think we'll do all right. I like the look of it. So let's see. We'll get bigger, more games and a couple of big teams as well, which you look forward to. You want to play the big English teams. I know we're not in the greatest place right now, but you always want to play the big England teams.
No, I agree. I think football's a bit exciting games in it, and you can't see the games.
I mean, you want to play against the better teams. We've kind of been starved of that because we're in Europa League. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not playing these big sides. Do you know what I mean? I know we've played some good sides, but we're not playing like your big guns from England or Spain or whatever. Do you know what I mean? We don't really get a chance at that. So it's a good chance of playing some of the bigger teams from down south.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think there's a comment there says geared up for the bigger teams. That all the European competitions are geared up for the bigger teams. That's why they exist, to make money for the bigger teams. Sadly, that's why it's seeded. I suppose one of the other bits that's probably interesting, Doug, is that, if I remember rightly, so although we play Malmo tomorrow, Malmo don't play the same other 7 teams as us. They play a totally different 7 teams, don't they?
That's correct. Yeah. So the draw is just like individual team based now. So they pull a. They worked out if they'd done the draw in the traditional system, they'd be doing it for about 8 hours. So the draw is now done by the supercomputer, as you mentioned as well. But to kind of keep that little bit of old school with the balls in the buckets and everything, they draw out the individual team. So they draw and because I think we actually came out first in the draw or very close to it. So they draw out the team, and then the computer then works out what teams you'll play. So obviously there's an element of randomization to that. It still needs to account for make sure that there's not teams playing in the same places that the so for example, if us and Celtic were in the same competition, it'd have to make sure we're not playing both in Glasgow on the same night, things like that. There's still the separation of federations initially, so like 2 English teams won't play each other to begin with. However, that now comes into play around earlier than it used to. So there will be the potential for big teams from the same nations to meet each other, I believe, in the knockout round. I think it comes in at that point. Whereas before it was only from the knockout stages. So there's a potentially a bit of excitement within that. And then just all the other logistics. So that's why we got the list of teams first, but didn't get the dates of the matches until the following day, just while it sorts all that out. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that adds a bit more of the element of the unknown, because before you were looking at like, okay, I've got 2 ties against this one team, home and away. So you've kind of got the give and take that has. There was always the classic. You're trying to maybe just get the draw, or ideally maybe scrape a win away, and then look to get your 3 points at home. Whereas now, it's 1-on-1. So there's now the sort of joint aspect of not only who you get, but whether you get them home or away, because that could have a big difference. So, we've got obviously a couple of teams that we're going to play that I think are beatable. But for example, Malmo's a really good one. Malmo at home is a slightly different prospect to Malmo away, and I think it can flip the potential favourites depending on whether it's home or away. So that's quite an interesting sort of aspect to it, I think.
No, definitely. Ricky, so now we've kind of talked about the format. We were talking about that earlier on. What's your thoughts on I suppose the expectations you have on Rangers for this year? How do you see them doing?
Well, that just brings me on for what I was just talking to the last time you came to me, Gary. We haven't really got a settled team yet. I don't think a fluency or a consistency there is within the team. We're going off to Sweden tomorrow to play Malmo, who are 25-26 games into their season. I think they were crowned Swedish champions last week. Whether that goes against us or goes with us, it will remain to be seen. But that's going to be a tough tie for us tomorrow night. They're a team that have just celebrated winning the league. They're obviously a cohesive unit. We're not quite there yet, so we would do well tomorrow night in my opinion. Ideally, it'd be great to get the victory, but I don't really see it, because I think we're up against the sheer fact that we're up against the Swedish champions who are only weeks away from finishing their season.
So Ricky, if I ask you right now, where do you expect us to be come February when the 8 games are done? Would you expect us to qualify in the top 8? Would you expect us to be in the playoff round, or do you expect us too much for us this year?
Bearing in mind we have got Spurs at home, Manchester United away, I don't see us picking up any points there with the way the two teams play. If I'm being honest, I don't see us getting a result tomorrow. So that leaves us another 2 games, once against Nice away, and another one at Ibrox. Who's it we've got the final game?
Steaua Bucharest, is it? Is it Steaua Bucharest?
Yeah, it's Steaua Bucharest. It's SFB, yeah. Steaua, which it'll be a winnable game. So that for me would be 6 points. Is that going to be enough to? I just think it's too early in our transformation of a football club with a new team, and it is a new team. There's no getting away from that. We're still learning each other's attributes, best positions, best play, and I just think it's too early for us to progress in this competition this year. I know I'm probably being the defeatist, but it's just how I feel, and I'm sure there's a lot of people would disagree with me. I hope we go there tomorrow night and win, but I think it's a tall order. I think it's a big ask.
So I think Paul stated it's USG, so I was getting mixed up in my games. I'm trying to remember. We play at home, we play Lyon at home, we play USG, we play Steaua Bucharest, and we play Spurs. I think it's 4 home games, if I remember rightly. Paul, your expectations then, Ryan, your expectations of where we will finish up come February after the first 8 games?
I like to think we can maybe sneak into knockout rounds, but I think Ricky's right in what he's saying as well. Probably no points picked up against the England teams. I don't think we'll do too bad tomorrow night. So we've just got to dig our heels and see how we go in the rest of the games. But I always fancy Rangers in Europe. Ever since Gerrard came in, I've always fancied Rangers in Europe to do well. Do you know what I mean? So this is no different. I fancy us today, at least getting in knockout stages at least. But I don't see us going through straight away, and that's not going to happen, I don't think. But I'd like to think we could sneak into the knockout rounds.
Playoff rounds and knockout rounds. Doug, you're always optimist. Your thoughts? Are we going for top 8 playoffs or the tail between our legs at home at the end of February?
I think the playoffs is the realistic best achievement. I don't see us getting into top 8. There's a lot of quality sides that the fact that we can't take points off of them and they'll just smash their teams. That's the bit people have obviously mentioned it in the chat. That's the bit where it really benefits the big teams as well, because you're no longer getting as much benefit of big teams taking points off one another within groups, depending on how the draw goes. So I think the middle of the pack the bottom half of the middle of the pack is probably the realistic zone that will be. I think it will be a tough one this year because, like Ricky says, we're still building our team, we're still developing as a group, but we do have that something when we play European games, particularly the home games. Even with this team, when it struggled last year, still managed to do, after starting off really poorly, finished quite strongly and obviously ended up topping the group. So, even when they're in struggles, they could still do that. I mean, that was also the story of our run to the final. We struggled to begin with that year. Obviously, it was Malmo that put us out of the Champions League qualifying. We struggled to begin with in the group stages, and then Gio came in, got us the couple of victories we needed to get out of that group, and then obviously the rest was history. So I share Ryan's optimism for that fact. Man United, it's easy to say that we'll definitely lose that, but Man United are a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team themselves right now. I mean, I do think the realistic thing is that they'll win that game. Obviously, it's at home as well, which makes it much better for them. But if they don't turn up, then we could sneak a draw. You never know. And as for Tottenham, I genuinely feel like the Tottenham game could be either we get absolutely smashed or we draw, because Tottenham are a bit like that as well. When they're on form, Tottenham are really, really good, but they can leave massive gaps at the back, a little bit like when we played Dortmund. So I don't think we're as good as the team that played Dortmund, and that'll be what will stop us, I think, probably getting anything out of that game. So those two aside, though, I think there is the potential in all the other games to sneak a draw or indeed win some of them. The big games, I think, for us are the FSB or FCSB, sorry, and Union, both at home. We have to target wins for them. That gets us our 6 points, and so then, you're either looking at for 3 draws or another win. Lyon at home is a tough game, but potentially doable. Can we sneak a 1-0 or something at Malmo? Potentially. So I think we can do it, but it will be a tough one, and it will really well depend on, will we turn up in the way that we can. If we do, then don't see why we can't get through.
So I'm going to come to you, Ryan. One of the things that fascinates me about this, I've heard lots of people talking about, well, as Doug said here, if we can maybe sneak a draw, or Ricky's not particularly confident. I suppose I'm slightly surprised that we're playing against Malmo, and no disrespect to Malmo, but their dearest players cost 1.6 million, and we've got a team of internationals and players like that we seem to be so defeatist at the moment. And I don't know if that's to do with the confidence of the team or the supporters and all the other stuff, but we don't seem to have a lot of confidence in the ability of what is arguably a better quality player than the Malmo will have, irrespective.
I think there's a lot of negativity in the club, and it's carrying it's like a dark cloud over us just now, and it just doesn't seem to be going away. But I think that's a lot of media driven as well, to be honest. I know it's not good enough in certain areas, but I don't think Rangers' season is as bad as everybody thinks either. We've got our new signings in as well, so we've got the empty jail. I fancy to win tomorrow. I said that earlier. I fancy to win tomorrow. A point at the very least. I do fancy tomorrow night. I think we've got a very defeatist attitude, a very negative attitude amongst Rangers supporters as well. But I think when you're hearing it in the media and you're reading it in the papers, do you know what I mean? You start to believe it yourself. Do you know what I mean? But we need to stick together and support the team. Now they're back at Ibrox as well. I know the game's away, but now they're back at Ibrox. They're back feeling at home stadium as well. There's no alien games for them. They can get back into a rhythm. And I just think the squad's going to grow and get better, definitely, with the new signings coming in. And I think Philip Clement's got a good rapport with the players. I think it's kind of like it's us against them kind of thing, which I like a bit of manager. But I certainly fancy tomorrow. I know a lot of Rangers supporters are feeling down the dumps now. I think it's because you look across the city and they're doing so well as well. They're looking good. They're hard to say, but they're looking good. So I think that also adds to it as well. We just need to focus on ourselves. Tomorrow night's a great opportunity for us to go and get our first 3 points on the board and get a foot forward and just really enjoy it as well. I mean, there's big games to look forward to, but tomorrow night's a game we need to be winning if we want to qualify.
No, I'd agree. And I share your optimism, to be honest. I'm just a little bit surprised when I listen to a lot of the comments about how negative they are about the likelihood of a game against Malmo. And maybe that's been disrespectful to Malmo. But, Ricky?
I think one of the reasons why we're negative, Gary, and I'll reiterate, we're a new team. We're still trying to settle down, but we have only ever really played this season for about 30 minutes of decent football, and then we get back into a kind of easy to play against, and that's against all our opposition this season so far in domestic football. We've never dominated a full game this year yet. We're getting there, but that's the reason why there's negativity going into these games. Malmo have just won the Swedish League. They're 26 games into their season. We're not getting 90 minutes out of our players yet, for whatever reason. They're not knitted yet, but there's reasons behind it. That's the negativity. That's where it's coming from. We're a new team. Whether we like it, whether we don't, until we get our players all knowing each other and showing a bit of consistency over 90 minutes, over a couple of games, that's when we can start believing in our players. We're not at that period yet, and that's why all these games, you get the negativity. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is.
Let's move on to the game then. So there's a couple of big things that are happening. And obviously Jeffrey's suspended for that ludicrous red card. I suppose I'm interested just briefly who you think will replace him. So Ricky first, who do you think will be filling that left back slot?
Do you know, it just typifies exactly what I'm saying, doesn't it? There's no continuity in any other team at the moment because of injuries and bits and bobs. So that's somebody else. Is it going to be young Fraser's going to come in there? Hasn't played all season, apart from the odd sort of a cameo. I don't think he'll play him there. They'll probably play Sterling again out of position. Or as read today, they may play proper there and put Suter in with Big Balogun as the two centre halves. Who knows? You know, because we certainly don't want to be losing the game. We'd be happy with a draw in Sweden. You know, I'd be more than happy with a draw in Sweden. But then, what do you do with attacking third going forward? Because you know we haven't got Jeff to fill in for Cortes. So do we put young McCausland over there? You know, sort of Chelney's on the right hand side. Who knows? Who knows how we're going to play it? But it's not a settled team. Again, going into a very important. I know I'm going on, and I'm sorry for that, but it's just a fact. We haven't got a settled team. So we're getting players getting played out of position. So Bajrami was brought in as a number 10, and he hasn't played that position yet. He's been playing on the left hand side. So that's where he'll probably play tomorrow, out of position, but down that left hand side.
So we'll come back to that in a wee moment. So Sterling, you're going Sterling for Hefty now, Jeffy. Doug, your take on who'll play left back?
Yeah, I think Sterling's the obvious choice, just because he's had more minutes, and you know he's ahead of Fraser, sort of, I think, quality wise. I'd quite like to see Fraser. I think it'd be interesting to just, you know, he's got a bit more. I think he's potentially got slightly more going forward than Sterling does, which is of benefit. But I think, given that it's an away European tie, he'll go for the safety option, which will be putting Sterling in there and return Diomande into the middle.
Right. What about then? You know, one of the things when he signed was Casson Virgil was plays left back, right back, and centre half. And do you think there's any opportunity that he may start as opposed to Sterling, or do you think, or Ray Fraser? Who do you think will be in that left back slot?
Was that me?
Yeah, Ryan,
sorry. I daydream sometimes, Gary. Sorry. I'd like to see him give the Dutch boy a chance. I don't know if that's his familiar position, but
plays across the position, apparently.
I would like to see him. I think he'll go with Sterling, though. I think he'll go with Sterling, just for experience of the three. It's somebody's really the safest option. I think it is the safest option for Sterling. I wouldn't be too gutted to see the new boy. I'm not going to try to say the names. We'll call him Big Casa. Big Casa, we'll call him.
Is there no question though that Sterling's form has been really poor in pretty much every game this season? So no matter what position he's not had a good start to the season. I think it's fair to say.
He's not been great. No, I wouldn't say. But I don't know how much football. You see the Dutch boy. How much football has he played previous to this?
This season, I don't think he's played much. Doug, I don't think he's played. I don't know what he's played with us.
No, at first team level, has he played a lot of first team football?
He played right back for Rapid Vienna last season for 40 games. I think he played. So he has got plenty of experience. If
he's experienced enough like that, I wasn't sure if he was a young boy. I didn't know much about him, to be honest. But I wouldn't be disappointed to see him get a start because we're trying to see new players, aren't we? So I would be happy to see him start, but I think he'll go with Sterling, to be honest.
So I'm going to get I think what we'll do is we'll put the predicted lineups out now. We'll maybe kind of talk through some of whether we agree or disagree. And I think if I'm right, Doug, I just do this and hopefully this works. Does it? There we go. Technology working perfectly. So what happens is the Rangers Journal puts a poll around all the people that are on the pod stuff, and this is a team that they come up with. I don't think it's a massive surprise. Doug, you obviously put that up for me, so I don't know if you want to talk through anything particular. I think it's predominantly the majority of the players that played on Sunday with a couple of changes.
Yeah, I don't think there was any surprises there. Everyone kind of voted for the obvious picks, and I think the team does kind of pick itself, to be honest. So the left back is the one question mark. The fact that Cortes is out, you would think puts a question mark to the left side, but given that he's already done Bajrami left with Lawrence in the middle, and Lawrence is currently actually in a bit of decent form at the moment, it feels like a no-brainer just to keep that as it is for now, rather than make the change at the moment. I mean, in theory, you can play Lawrence on the left as well. He played huge amounts of his career on the left wing. So, but it's whether or not he has. We've been talking for long enough. He doesn't have the legs for the middle, so that would suggest he doesn't have the legs to be a winger either. But as I say, in the last few games, he's actually been pretty decent. So who knows? But I think conventional wisdom suggests we've played reasonably well with that setup. So just keep that as it is. The only position that the group were split on was the number 10 as to which way he'd go. So I think that's just I think that's more part of us being realistic and picking Lawrence because that's what we think he'll go, and then the other half of us picking Bajrami because we want to see him in the middle. But yeah, I think like I say, there's not really a position there I think anyone could argue too hard over apart from the left back. But even that, I think Sterling just seems like an obvious choice. He's been put there before.
Doug, I'm going to ask these actually, just because, as you say, it's quite obvious. If you had a wild card pick, something that you think that Clement will surprise us with tomorrow, who would that player be? If there is one.
Well, I'd love that player. I'd love the wild card appearance to be Hadji, but I highly doubt it will be. I really don't know if there's one, to be honest. Eggman would probably be the one he'd maybe throw in, having turned out decently. So maybe he decides that we need the hold-up play but more in Europe, and if he decides that that's going to be a big thing, then maybe he puts him in. So that would probably be my choice for the wild card pick. But I mean, how do you not pick a 7 and 9 goal striker? So, like I say, we're at a point in time right now where I think the wild card's just not going to happen. But that would be the one I'd go for if I had to pick one.
Yeah. Ricky, your wild card. I'm intrigued by this wild card one. I'm thinking who's the one that gets shocked? He does generally. It does well.
Before I sort of tell you who could possibly start in there, maybe a change of formation, mind you, is when you look at our left hand side with Ridvan, Cortez, and Jefty, all our first team left hand side missing. That poses a problem for us. So I think it's definitely going to have to be Sterling in it. But what he could do is he could pick Raskin in there and play with 3 holding midfielders with Diomande as the one that sort of sits above, and then just the 3 up top with Dessers, Bajrami, and Cherny left and right of him. So that could be a bit of a more 4-3-3 with a more of a defensive kind of setup, make sure that we don't lose the game. So Raskin could possibly be brought in there as a sort of a wild card, if you like, because that is the kind of formation in the team that I agree with Doug will probably go with. The formation, maybe the personnel need to change. Obviously, Cortez isn't available. That'll be Bajrami, and then Lawrence comes in to that number 10 role in that formation. But it could be a 4-3-3 with a more defensive with Raskin in there. But we'll wait and see.
Ryan's disappeared momentarily, so we'll see if he comes back. I'll tell you what my wild card might be actually, and I was listening to you. Diomande played the left back numerous times for Northland, so maybe him in the left back and Raskin in the middle of the park. And there's left-footed, isn't he? Diomande is left-footed, I think. Yeah. So we give you that balance. And the other one that jumped out to me was McCausland. I think McCausland may be an option as well. So I think if I was to say a wild card, it'd be one of those two. Raskin coming in the middle of the park and Diomande left back, and McCausland up the right-hand side instead of Cherny. Just because I think he does offer sometimes. It was the last European game he played in. He played really well. But then I think, as Doug says, more likely is that the team is pretty settled. There's not been a lot of obvious changes, and we don't have a lot of options. We do have a lot of options, but not a lot of first pick options. You know what I mean? We've got a strong bench maybe now, but not the players that are going to necessarily threaten the first 11 as it stands. So looking at the team now, so that's, if you had add in Lawrence instead of Cortez, looking at that team, how do you see the game going, Ricky?
It really just depends how we settle down, mate. When we've all experienced the Rangers in Europe, we're playing really, really well, playing tight. They don't lose a lot of goals normally, and I don't see us losing that a lot tomorrow. I think we've all set up reasonably defensively and try and counter-attack as we did the last time we were away from home, albeit we did lose a tie. But up until the point that Jeff to get sent off, we were on the ascendancy in that game, and we could have went on and qualified for the knockout stage. But we certainly weren't overawed by playing Dynamo Kiev, and we shouldn't be overawed by playing this lot tomorrow night. I just reiterate what I was saying. We're just still knitting together, and our whole left-hand side is causing us problems at the moment because of injuries and suspensions. So we have to deal with that. So as long as we're not too gung-ho and flamboyant, manage the game as best we can, keep the ball as best we can, and just try and take our opportunities when they come, then hopefully it'll be a good night for us.
So score prediction from you then. What?
I'm going to go for 2-2, mate. I'd love a draw. I'd take a draw right now. If he can win, brilliant. But I'd take a draw. I'll go 2-2.
No. And there's a comment there. The wildcard if Clermont doesn't start to have tomorrow night. We almost made it through a whole pod without the name being mentioned at all. Which was. I think he's certain to start, and I think he's probably certain to contribute something if we do score 2 goals in that time. Doug, yourself, your thoughts on the game tomorrow and a prediction from you?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think if we're going to get 2 goals, what likelihood is one may well be a penalty. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be tough. We'll have to be on top. We'll have to be on top of things. Like we've said before, Malmo are well through their season. They're full of confidence, on top of the world. They've practically won the league already. I think they can afford to lose something like 6 of their next 8. I think, and they'd still win the league. It's something something that level of ahead. So. They've got the opportunity to potentially rest players in the league and things like that. So they'll be really going for this, I think, which will make it tough. I do think, though, that we do have things that can cause some trouble. When we had our pod on Monday night with Scully from Malmo, I specifically asked him, what kind of things might cause Malmo trouble, and he did talk about a high press being something that's caused them trouble, and that is something that we try and do. So if we're able to do that effectively, then hopefully we can cause them a little bit of trouble that way. And it sounds like that the first goal is going to be key, because he did talk about Malmo not always reacting well to going a goal down. We know from our past as well that can hit us as also. So I think the first goal could be a key. So if we can come out well, start strongly, weather what I think will be a Malmo team that will come at us straight off, and then get into the game and try and get that first goal, then we could maybe pull something off. I think that there will only be maybe a goal or so in it. That's what history kind of says to us. All of our games with Malmo have only been like 1-0s or 2-1s or 1-1s. So the likelihood is it'll be something like that. And my heart says 2-1, I'd like or 1-0. But I kind of feel like a score draw. I agree with Ricky. I think a score draw is probably likely, and I would take that as a decent start. But if we can come away with a 1-0 win, then I think that would be would skyrocket the confidence, get Ibrox rocking for the Hibs game. And if talking about what we said earlier, talking about what we were talking about earlier in terms of our expectations, if we do win this first game, I think that is a marker to the boys to go on and say, right, you should be qualifying now, because to me the two games that we've got the best chance of winning are the 2 home games to come. So if we can get 3 points out of this game, we can definitely get that 9 to go through.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just a little plug. So when you are looking for things to do tomorrow, waiting for the game to start at 5:45, as Doug says, on Monday there was a pod with a Malmo supporting fan media, and it's really interesting. Tells you a little bit about the team, tells you a little bit about how they play, tells you a little bit about the style, and it's certainly worth a listen to. It gives you a bit of an understanding of how the style, which is quite interesting. It's quite different than a lot of other teams, so I would certainly urge Emily to go back and listen to that. So we're coming to the end of the pod tonight. Ricky, I don't know if you've got any final comments, any final thoughts, anything you want to say before we finish for the evening?
No, just thanks for having us on tonight, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That hour's just flown by. I'll be sitting watching the game tomorrow with every other Rangers supporter, just hoping and praying that we can get a result. We can get a win, absolutely fantastic. But I just hope Rangers, I don't care about the flamboyancy. I just hope Rangers make it hard for them to come to us and we nick something. That'll be great with that. We can do all the flair we want when we get to Ibrox. Just come back from Sweden with some sort of a result, and I'll be chuffed to bits.
No, thanks for that, Ricky. And thankfully, your Wi-Fi held up pretty well. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. And Doug, yourself, any final thoughts?
Well, I've just seen Sam Lammers has equalised for 20 against Man United. So if anything can give you confidence that we can maybe sneak something against United, then that has got to be it. So if they can go and get a 1-1, then I'd like to think that we can do the same. If Lammers can get one, then Dessers will get a hat-trick. So there we go.
We're on to winner.
Europa League sorted.
No, thanks for that. And so thanks everybody for listening, watching, and put in the comments, as we always say, like, subscribe, follow. You'll catch us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and every single platform there is. And we will be back tomorrow night with a match reaction shortly after the game. Hopefully it's a positive match reaction, and we are celebrating the first 3 points on the Europa League journey 2024-25. So thanks for watching, and thanks Doug, thanks Ricky, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks. Every night is a Rangers journey. Goodbye.